All right, the big game is in the rear view mirror. It is time to talk ads. Hello, hello. Welcome to Ad Meter Live, sponsored by Verizon. I'm Ralphie Aversa here in New York City, and Ad Meter, if you need a quick refresher, we'll give it to you right now. It was started by USA Today back in 1989. It's the industry-leading tool to measure what the public thinks about the Super Bowl commercials. Really easy. You sign up, admeter.usatoday.com. You become a panelist. You rate the ads from 1 to 10. We tally up the results and give them back to you. Over 1,700 big game ads have been ranked since Ad Meter started back in 1989. However, this is the very first Ad Meter Live, and we're starting off on a very, very special note. We have a great show planned for you. Later in the show, we'll hear from Don Cheadle, and we'll also chat one-on-one with the icon, the one, the only, Dolly Parton. Of course, though, we're going to break down the big ads, and we're going to get to your top 3 on Ad Meter as voted on by you, the Ad Meter panelists. And to do that, of course, we bring in USA Today Sports' Nancy Armour. Nancy, thanks so much for the time. I know it's already been a very busy day, busy weekend for you, of course, between the big game and now Ad Meter. Let's talk ads just overall for a second. What did you think of what you saw during the Super Bowl?
I thought they were good for the most part. I was curious going in what it was going to look like. Were we going to get a lot of the, oh, we're all in this together, the type of ads that we saw during the spring. And I'll be honest, I was pleasantly surprised at how much humor there was in the majority of the ads. And it was also kind of fun, too, to see all the nostalgia that was brought in, even some ads that it wasn't completely obvious. The Scots one with John Travolta doing his dance from Grease. If you didn't know Grease, you might not have recognized it. But it was just kind of it was a very, comforting feeling watching a lot of these ads.
And it was cool because they had the nod to obviously TikTok in there as well. And you had Martha Stewart in that ad. I mean, for me, when you talk nostalgia, I think the first thing I think of is Wayne's World with Cardi B for Uber Eats. I thought that one was pretty funny and it did okay on Ad Meter. Nancy, we certainly saw how this pandemic affected the game. Only 22,000 at Raymond James Stadium. We also saw how the pandemic affected the halftime show and the way in which, of course, The Weeknd, who I thought did a fantastic job, had to kind of reconfigure his set around the stadium. How do you think, Nancy, the pandemic affected the ads?
I think the biggest thing that you saw was you didn't see, number one, you didn't see a lot of crowd shots. You saw ads being filmed outside. The Bud Light Legends ad that they had, almost all of that was outside. You didn't see a lot of people on the screen together. Going back to that Scots one, they had Martha Stewart. They had John Travolta and his daughter. They had the guy from The Office. None of them were on screen together. And that was obviously done because of the pandemic. You saw a lot of stock footage used. So there weren't some of the traditional scene shots, I think is probably the best way to put it because of the pandemic.
If you're going to mention Bud Light Legends, Nancy, and you're going to give me an opportunity to sing Real Men of Genius, I'm going to take it.
I hated that back in the day, and it hasn't aged well.
Wait, what hasn't aged well? Okay, that is fair. If they were doing that spot in 2021, it would not be Real Men of Genius. I agree. But shout out to the lead singer of Survivor, Eye of the Tiger. They even found him for that ad. That was something else. All right. That did okay also on Ad Meter, but let's get to the best of the best right now, Nancy. We'll break down the top 3 according to the Ad Meter panelists. And we start at number 3, and it's by Amazon. This one's Alexa's Body.
It's just flawless, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, I literally couldn't imagine a more beautiful vessel for Alexa to be inside. Alexa, how many tablespoons are in a cup?
There are 16 tablespoons in a cup.
Babe, food just got here. Why you cooking? Who's that?
Alexa, turn on the sprinklers.
Honey, I already ran the sprinklers. Things are getting way too wet around here.
Alexa, dim the lights.
Little clip of it right there. Nancy, what'd you think of it?
I love that. That was one of my absolute favorites. We've seen over the years plenty of Super Bowl ads that have objectified women, let's put that mildly, whether it's the classic Cindy Crawford Pepsi commercial, all the GoDaddy.com ones, and this turns it on its head. which is a recognition that more than or roughly 50% of the NFL's audience these days is women. So I thought it was a very clever turn. And Amazon has done a really nice job in the last couple of years of bringing in celebrities and getting really creative with how they're using them. And I just thought everything about this commercial worked.
Yeah, heading into the weekend, we thought this would be one of the top ones on Ad Meter. I mean, if there's any surprise that it wasn't even higher than 3, but it checks out at number 3, Amazon and Alexa's Body, of course, featuring Michael B. Jordan. We get to number 2 now, and this one comes courtesy of Rocket Mortgage. The name of the spot, Certain is Better. It features Tracy Morgan, and from the Chargers, Joey Bosa.
We both love this place. Now what?
Well, I'm pretty sure we have everything in order.
Pretty sure. With Rocket, you could be certain, not pretty sure.
What's the difference?
Well, let me show you. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's all of them. Maybe not. I'm pretty sure this won't hurt. Pretty sure that's a figment of our imaginations. I'm pretty sure we can park in Joey Bosa's spot. That spot works too. I'm pretty sure they come in peace.
Let's do Certain.
Yeah, certain is better.
When it comes to home buying, pretty sure isn't sure enough. Find the right mortgage with a local broker and Rocket Technology. When you need to be certain, Rocket can.
Come on.
Wasn't me.
We both love.
It's hard not to laugh when you see Tracy Morgan on screen, right, Nancy?
Exactly. And I was thinking about that as that was playing. You just start smiling when he pops his head out of the refrigerator saying, "Are you sure?" So yeah, it just, very good humor use. Anytime somebody's flipping a car, you can't not like that. And just some creative ideas on what things could be horrific or what things that you definitely would not want to mess with. The first time I saw it, the snakes in the tent, I was like, oh my God, yeah, don't, you don't want to mess with those. So I thought that was, just very clever.
And we get now to the number 1 ad on Ad Meter this year, ranked by you, of course, the Ad Meter panelist. And once again, we will revisit Rocket Mortgage and Certain is Better and Tracy Morgan. However, he's joined by some different castmates in the number 1 spot. Yes, this time, Certain is Better featuring Tracy Morgan, Lisa Koshy, and Dave Bautista. Take a look.
Can we even afford this house?
I'm pretty sure we can.
Pretty sure. With Rocket Mortgage, you can be certain, not pretty sure.
What's the difference?
Let me show you. I'm pretty sure these aren't poisonous. I'm pretty sure these are parachutes.
Mine has the sandwich.
That's mine. I'm pretty sure you do not run. I'm pretty sure you can take Batista down.
You're on.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is trending.
I'm pretty sure these hornets aren't the murdering type. I'm pretty sure we can make it.
Certain is better.
Let's go with certain.
Good choice.
When you're buying a home, pretty sure isn't sure enough. When you need to be certain about how much home you can afford, Rocket can.
Hi, neighbor.
I'll hold the dog.
Not again.
Now, a couple of notes there. Liza Koshy, of course, got her start on Vine. Huge online followings with YouTube and Instagram. She has a YouTube original series as well. And, of course, Dave Bautista, probably known to most WWE fans as Bautista, the former wrestler, now turned actor as well. Tracy Morgan in that spot also. If you're wondering real quick, wait a minute, Rocket Mortgage has the top 2 spots. Not unprecedented in Ad Meter history. Last time it happened was with Budweiser back in 2007. Nancy, besides the fact that we just saw the spots and they're obviously funny, how did Rocket Mortgage end up occupying the top 2 spots this year on Ad Meter?
You know what? They were genius, actually, because in addition to coming up with this really creative ad campaign, they came up with a really creative social campaign in which to push it. So within 15 minutes of the game ending last night, Tracy Morgan got on Twitter and said, hey, here's the highlights of our ad. Go vote for it on Ad Meter. And that was echoed by the Cleveland Cavaliers, whose owner, Dan Gilbert, was the co-founder of Quicken Loans, which is Rocket Mortgage's parent company.
Actually, yeah, Nancy, let's show some of these tweets real quick, because they really went all out with the campaign. And like you said on CBS this morning, the name of the game is getting eyeballs to your ads. So good for Rocket Mortgage that they're fans of AdMeter and that they had Tracy Morgan. We'll show his tweet right now. Tweeting about, AdMeter and getting everyone to vote a 10 there. They had Larry Fitzgerald, who we saw throughout the football season in a Rocket Mortgage commercial, the great wide receiver. He's tweeting about it. And then, of course, as you mentioned as well, Nancy, the Cleveland Cavaliers, owner Dan Gilbert, co-founder of Quicken Loans, the parent company of Rocket Mortgage. I don't know, Nancy. What I was thinking about late last night and this morning as the votes were tallied, is this going to set a precedent here for AdMeter moving forward?
You know what? If so, why not? Again, the whole name of this game is getting attention for your brand. And that's exactly what they did. And it's not as if they said, oh, just go vote for Rocket Mortgage and then, get out of the rest of the contest. In order for your vote to be counted, you had to rate all of the ads. So it wasn't as if they were just stuffing the ballot box for this one ad. But again, it's creative, and it got people. The thing that struck me was that, they might have been attracting people who didn't watch the game, who weren't seeing this commercial live, who wouldn't have seen it if Tracy Morgan hadn't tweeted it, if Ricky Fowler hadn't tweeted it, if the Detroit Lions hadn't tweeted it. So they were trying to get as many eyeballs, as much attention to this ad campaign as they could. And clearly it worked.
Yeah. Like Ricky Fowler tweeting about it too. I'm like, what is going on right now?
Yeah, but you know what? You use what you've got, and they did it. They did it. And, that's what you want to do.
Absolutely. And by the way, we should also mention, we'll talk about this a little later in the show. If you have not voted yet on AdMeter, if you have not had your voice heard, we have something new this year that you're going to want to stick around and find out about, because you're going to have a chance still to do so, even though we are past the big game. USA Today Sports is Nancy Armour. Thank you so much. We'll see you later in the show to discuss more of the big game ads.
All right.
And coming up again here on AdMeter Live, again, the one, the only Dolly Parton. But up next, we're chatting one-on-one with Don Cheadle. This is AdMeter Live, sponsored by Verizon.
Hi, this is Jerry Rice, and you're watching AdMeter Live.
Montana and Rice relived their old glory while adding Doritos to their Super Bowl story.
Hey, guys.
Aitman.
Can I play? Brought some chips.
Hell no. Hey, we're going to take these Doritos, though.
Come on, man.
I
didn't play you guys in the Super Bowl.
My shot, Joe.
Come on, we're friends.
All right, Sunday night, Michelob Ultra reminded us that sometimes things and people aren't who they appear to be.
But in a world where most things seem real, sometimes they're not.
Hey, Don Cheadle.
Man, get off my boat.
That's fair.
New Michelob Ultra Organic Seltzer is real.
And while doppelgangers for Usher, Maluma, Serena Williams, and Sly Stallone were used, we got the real Don Cheadle, the Golden Globe winning actor, joins us right now on AdMeter Live. Don, thanks for the time.
Glad to be here. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
I'm chilling. I'm in Hawaii. I'm having a great time.
All right. Is that where you filmed this commercial with Michelob Ultra and their new organic seltzer?
No, we actually filmed that spot in LA. We're doing some additional fun stuff that's going to live online, and that we're doing out here. So it's great. I got to bring my brother out, and everybody came out here to make it happen. So it's cool.
All right. How did the commercial come about?
They reached out in the way that they do, and said we got this spot, and they mentioned the product to me, like as you mentioned. Michelob Ultra, and it's 100% USDA certified organic, which is, kind of brand aligned for me. And it's an opportunity to have some fun in the Super Bowl with a really, interesting concept in a commercial, which the button of which is having my brother appear in a commercial with me, which I don't know if that's ever happened before. So it's a lot of fun, and just a great way to celebrate the event.
Well, yeah, you mentioned, obviously, for those who didn't pick up on it, Don's doppelganger in the spot is his brother, Colin. Now, is this the only time that you guys have worked together? The movie was Rebound that you guys both worked on, correct?
Correct. But he played the younger me. So I never really got to be on screen with him. There's a moment in the movie where it's a really cool transition between he and I when I become the older version of him. That was just a switch though. So that was the only time we were kind of even near being on camera together.
What was it like working with him?
It was great. I mean, to get to, I don't know if you have brothers, but to get to be in a commercial and, you know, each of us take shots at each other, which is what we do anyway, and just having a ball. It was great. It was a really cool experience, you know, very much the cherry on top.
Now, obviously, Don, this is not your first Super Bowl ad. 2014's Bud Light Up for Whatever ad, instant classic. And I know you were also a part of the NFL's 2015 Super Bowl rally campaign. I mean, we're talking about here the most watched TV program of the year. As you go into this to film these commercials, these campaigns, does that impact you at all as an actor?
Well, I think, you know, we try not to think about necessarily everyone that's going to watch it, although, of course, we know that there will be millions of people that tune in. And I think you just really try to focus on what you're trying to do and make the best, you know, the best commercial you can make, and really have the most fun you can make, and hope that that is something that translates and people dig it, because obviously a lot of people tune in to watch the Super Bowl just to see the commercials. So it's really cool to be a part of that. As you said, one of the biggest, most viewed events in the world. And again, to be able to share it with my brother has just been awesome.
Do you normally watch the game?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Especially when my team is in it.
Do you have any traditions like for the game, as far as whether you watch it with certain people, something certain on the menu maybe?
No, I think my tradition has seemed to be something different every year. You know, I've been all over everywhere, you know, and up to and including going to the game with my brother and his wife and my wife. And so that's been a lot of fun too. But yeah, it seems like I'm always somewhere planted to watch the game.
Don Cheadle, of course, joining us here on Ad Meter Live, Michelob Ultra, Organic Seltzer, the doppelganger spot. We mentioned all the doppelgangers, but there's also voicing it, a Christopher Walken sound-alike. Don, I hate to put you on the spot, but I'm going to do it. Do you have a Christopher Walken impression?
No, I don't. Some people do it. I don't. No, I don't. That's terrible. You see why I don't do it. But everybody tries to have one. Scotty Conn does it pretty good.
I appreciate you at least trying. I know you said before as well that the ad was filmed in LA. What kind of COVID precautions were in place for the filming? And are these kind of the precautions that you've been seeing throughout Hollywood as, you know, Hollywood continues to try and film throughout this pandemic?
Yeah, all of the precautions, up to and including being tested on the day on the set. And, you know, it's just what has to be done. And it's very tricky, obviously. You know, we're between a rock and a hard place, and there's only, you know, attempting to stay safe at every turn. And it's obviously a concern that every studio has, and every performer has, and everybody behind the camera has, and we should all share the same concern and be this serious about it, because it's obviously a very serious issue that is not. You know, we had our worst month last month. That's the worst month that we've had since this pandemic started in this country. So we've really got to take all measures and be very serious about it. And it's challenging because people want to go back to work and need to go back to work. So if there's any chance that we're going to have to stay the course and be able to get back to work and create these shows that people also desperately want, we're going to have to be incredibly observant and not play games with this, and not think that we can outsmart it, and just be super 100%.
It's impacted every facet of our life, and certainly from an entertainment standpoint with movies and the big deal announced between Warner Brothers and HBO Max. I know you're in the new Space Jam film that will be getting in some theaters and on HBO Max this summer. I'm curious, Don, what was it like to try to build a team to beat LeBron James?
I'm glad I didn't have to do it by myself, and that I had the studio's help. He's not an easy dude to take down. But again, that's another thing that was, you know, just a great experience. I had a lot of fun, and the young man who's in the movie, CJ, is great. And, you know, it's going to be, I think, a big breakout moment for him. And seeing how serious LeBron took everything, you know, when he could have kind of phoned it in, you know, in his position and just been the guy who showed up as the star. And like, you guys do all that acting stuff, but he was very committed and very serious and took everything very seriously. And we had a great time.
Another fun Super Bowl ad from the great Don Cheadle. This one for Michelob Ultra Organic Seltzer. Things don't always appear how they may look. Don, we appreciate the time. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
All right, Ad Meter Live, sponsored by Verizon. Don't forget Dolly Parton as well, coming up a little later in the show. Right now, though, we have an all-pro cast compiled to break down all of the spots from the big game. Rejoining the show, of course, the great Nancy Armour from USA Today Sports. And we'd also like to welcome in Editor-in-Chief of Adweek, Stephanie Paterick. Stephanie, thank you so much for the time. Nancy, of course, thank you for rejoining us. Nancy and I, Stephanie, chatted at the top of the show kind of about some of the ads we liked and didn't like, and of course ran down the top 3. I'm curious, as far as you and of course the team at Adweek, what was the #1 spot? What was your favorite? What was the top one?
Absolutely. I think that Anheuser-Busch was the big winner last night for a variety of reasons. They had a couple of strong ads for different brands. They also made the decision not to run an ad for Budweiser, which got a lot of great press because they put the money toward the vaccine. We loved Let's Grab a Beer. It was our top spot of the night. It's set before the pandemic, so you see people grabbing a beer together in these kind of beautiful and everyday casual situations, and you can't help but feel a little heartsick for those moments. And the spot really manages to elevate the product because while watching it, we see it's not just about a beer, it's about being together.
And of course, in the process, highlighting their various beers, of course, that are in the InBev fam. But Heartsick is such a great. Nancy, did you feel that too? Because I was trying to figure out how I felt after watching that ad, and Heartsick is actually like a perfect adjective. Nancy, how did you feel when you watched it?
Yeah, I think that's a good description. I definitely melancholy because you were reminded of how much we're missing, not just drinking beer, but the personal connections that you make on a daily basis, the ones that we probably never thought of before COVID. So yeah, I think Heartsick, melancholy, both are good descriptions.
All right, let's go from what ad we thought was the best to what Ad Meter ranked as the worst. 57 out of 57. Nancy, which ad had the honors?
It was Oatly. I'm sure that everybody could guess that. It was the commercial from, oh God, just such an awful song. This is actually an ad that they made it in 2014, and it was banned in Sweden because of the dairy lobby, and so they decided to try it out again. And you could make the argument that it's horrific, and plenty of people did, but it also got Oatly plenty of chatter. This was their first time advertising at the Super Bowl, and it can be hard to break in. It can be hard to find something that resonates with people, and this definitely did. And we'll see if that the old saying of "there's no such thing as bad publicity" works for these guys.
Stephanie, Adweek had some great background. As Nancy had mentioned, of course, the fact that this ad was originally created back in 2014 and it's banned in Sweden because of the dairy lobby, which is a whole other thing. How did the jingle come about, though, Stephanie?
So it's really interesting. The CEO did not just sing this song; he wrote it. The story goes that I think they had a creative team that was tasked with writing a song for this spot, and the CEO wasn't happy with the result, and so he showed up to the set with his own lyrics, and he sang his song, and he said, it's better my way. I think "Oh Wow No Cow" is something that we can credit him with. It's interesting, it's a controversial decision, but Adweek placed this ad in its top 10 ads, so it's so interesting to see it was at the bottom of the ad meter. What we loved about it is, every once in a while we get these ads that are really they're so aggressive, they're so bad, they're good. It's like aggressively bad, right? And also it really, again, it highlights the product and it's memorable. We talk about ad recall as being a really important barometer of whether a Super Bowl ad was successful. So if you've ever seen an ad and then at the end of it, you're like, I love that, but I can't remember what the product was, it wasn't such a success. But Oatly, we're all talking about it. It had a really huge social reach on Twitter last night, and we'll see if next year we remember it.
And by Oatly on their store, their online store, they had shirts saying how the commercial was so bad. So they were in on this as well from the get-go. And Stephanie, to your point, that's probably what their intention was. And hey, good for them. They did it. If you're wondering, by the way, on Ad Meter, Oatly was last. Second to last Robinhood. No idea if Reddit or any subreddits had anything to do with that. We were wondering, Nancy and Stephanie, as we got into the big game, of course, and we're looking at the ads, we were wondering if any of the brands would get political, and certainly at least one did. And the big one that everybody seems to be talking about afterwards is Jeep, of course, starring and voiced by Bruce Springsteen. The ad called The Middle. Nancy, what'd you make of this ad?
I personally loved it. I'm a Bruce Springsteen fan, so obviously it's going to be right in my wheelhouse. But I like the message. I thought that
there's a chapel in Kansas.
We would see a lot of this, and there's a very fine line to walk between being a feel good or heartwarming and being just saccharine. And I think the NFL's Vince Lombardi, I thought, went the other way. I didn't like that one. I thought this one was good. I ththought it was a good message, and I thought it struck the right tone.
And for all that promo leading up to the Vince Lombardi hologram projection, whatever was going on, that was
it was cringeworthy.
A little, for sure. Stephanie, I guess, what did you and Adweek make of Jeep and the Bruce Springsteen ad?
Well, something worth noting is that this was a 2-minute ad, which means it was worth $22 million in airtime, not to mention production costs. So this was a really expensive ad. This was a really big swing by Jeep. Their chief marketing officer said that when they went out to make this ad, they wanted it to be iconic. They wanted it to be something that you'll remember in a year and in 10 years. I think it's beautifully produced. Although for me, the script and the message rang a little hollow. One of my colleagues said that it felt like the first draft of a Biden speech. So there wasn't a lot of substance there, and I think we saw a lot of our readers were really wanting to see Jeep and a lot of other brands sort of tackle not just the fact that there is division, but the reasons why there's division, and speak more directly to that.
Absolutely. Of course, Stephanie Patrick, editor-in-chief of Adweek, breaking it down along with Nancy Armour from USA Today Sports here on Ad Meter Live, sponsored by Verizon. I'm Ralph Versa. So we also obviously saw something prevalent throughout the night, and that was celebrities. And we use that specifically, plural, ensembles in these various ads. When it came to celebrity, we talked about Michael B. Jordan, of course, at the top, Nancy. But did you have another maybe favorite celebrity ad from last night?
Yeah, the Eminem commercial that even if Dan Levy had not been in it, that probably would have been one of my favorites. But him being at the end of the commercial just was the perfect topper of it for me. He's one of, if not the hottest celebrity right now. He'd hosted Saturday Night Live the night before. If you haven't watched Schitt's Creek yet, you have been missing out. So I just thought everything about that ad worked. And I love the "I'm sorry, your name is Karen" line.
One of the good lines from that ad. And by the way, if you were watching just now and you saw me have a visceral physical reaction to the start of that ad, I mean, spilling a Bloody Mary on yourself on a plane. I mean, honestly, at this point, I would love the opportunity to spill a Bloody Mary on myself on a plane. It's been about a year since I've been on one, but regardless, that's why that happened. Of course, as you mentioned, Dan, Eminem's Come Together, checked in at number 4 on Ad Meter. Stephanie, what about you? What'd you make of the ensemble of celebrities involved in these various ads?
I loved it. I agree with Nancy. I think that this Super Bowl was so much more fun than expected. And a big reason was that brands went with celebrities, in many cases, as many celebrities as they could cram into an ad. It was also a great night for people who've been on SNL. There were 6 SNL alums. But if you can't get an SNL, former cast member, I think you can't do better than Dan Levy. He brought just the right amount of snark and edge to this very sort of relatable and lovable ad.
Toyota's ad, by the way, rounded out the top 5, if you're curious on that. A lot to talk about with these and so many different facets, as we mentioned. USA Today Sports is Nancy Armour. Nancy, I got to say, we missed you at the game, but we are so thankful that you were able to be a part of Ad Meter this year in such a meaningful way. So thank you so much.
Sure. It was fun to actually be able to watch the commercials in real time.
And Stephanie, thank you so much for your insight, and congrats to you and the entire team at Adweek. I love following along all the live tweeting and, of course, the recaps today. So thank you so much for the time.
Ralphie and Nancy, thank you both.
All right, coming up here on Ad Meter Live, Dolly Parton. Right before we get to Dolly Parton, though, this is really cool. You're going to want to see this. Our friends at Frito-Lay sent us some behind-the-scenes footage of the Doritos 3D ad with, of course, Flat Matthew McConaughey. All right. Let's get to that behind-the-scenes footage right now here on Ad Meter Live, sponsored by Verizon. All right, Sunday night, Squarespace aired their 7th big game ad, and it featured a new twist on an iconic song.
Working 5 to 9, you've got passion and a vision, cause it's hustling time, a whole new way to make a living. Gonna change your life, do something that gives it meaning with a website that is worthy of your dreaming.
And we welcome in an artist who truly needs no introduction. Dolly Parton, how are you?
Well, I am good, especially now that my song is playing again. Just a little different wording. It's a 5 to 9 instead of a 9 to 5. But we're excited about that. We were happy to get to do that commercial with Squarespace. And so we got some new people on camera instead of me. But I really got to be in it, though, with singing it and actually changing the words around a little bit to fit the occasion.
Let's start with the re-record of 9 to 5 to 5 to 9. Whose idea was it?
Well, actually, the idea came from Squarespace. They asked if I would be willing to be involved in a rewrite that would kind of tailor-make it for their project, for their Squarespace, their website, the way that they're working with new entrepreneurs and with people that are building their own businesses, their side hustle, as they call it. And so they sent me the new lyrics, and I thought they were really good. I thought they were right on with what they were trying to do. So I said, yeah, I'll sing it. And so we did, and they used it and used some new people and just had my voice and cleverly had me on the cover, wink in at the end, as you noticed, advertising my new fragrance, Dolly, that actually is my side hustle. And so Squarespace has built a website for that. So actually it's a win-win for everybody.
When you saw the new lyrics that they gave you, I guess what was it about the lyrics and about this campaign that struck a chord with you?
Well, I thought that it was a perfect fit for what they were doing because we know all the 9 to 5 people, all of them can't even go work their 9 to 5 jobs now. So a lot of people actually are working from home and they're building their own businesses online. And of course, even the ones that are still working 9 to 5, they still do that anyway. And I thought it was a genius idea for Squarespace, a company like that, to start a company like that. And so I thought that it was so in keeping as they did with the 9 to 5, the 5 to 9, and because people are always going to be working and people are always going to be dreaming. And I really feel like with the COVID, everybody being so in, we've got so many more entrepreneurs now than we did before because they've had time to think about what they need to do to kind of make a living. And so this has worked out well in this new high-tech world. It's just the future, and I feel always honored and proud that somehow I can maneuver myself in there and still be relevant this day and time after all these years, and that my little song that's just become an anthem is still relevant to the new generation.
Yeah, that's really what I wanted to ask you too, because that's another thing that struck me about this campaign, Dolly. I mean, we're now over 40 years separated from you releasing this song. What does it mean to you that all these years, decades later, people still want to be a part of it?
Well, the song 9 to 5, as you know, it's 40 years since we actually came out with the movie, but that song has lived on and on and on, and people know it everywhere, and I've sold it a few times or licensed it to different companies to play in commercials or whatever. But I think it's because it really says what people do. No matter where you go to work, you're going to you stumble out of bed and, stumble to the kitchen and pour a cup of ambition. You got to get ready to go to work. You got to hit the streets no matter what job you're going to. So I think that's going to always be, even if you're working your 5 to 9, even if you're going to get in and get online, you still got to get your butt up and get awake, and you got to get in a work mode. You've still got to kind of and I just think the song has so many things in it that people relate to in one way or another. And it's a good singable song. It's just kind of like a working man, working girl's anthem.
Dolly Parton, of course, here on Ad Meter Live. I'm Ralphie Aversa. Dolly, is this your first Super Bowl commercial?
I believe it is. I've been asked to perform there and to be on it, and I think this is the first time I've been on the Super Bowl. I've watched many of them with my husband. I've done a lot of cooking, done a lot of bringing stuff to the living room or the den for everybody else. But now, it's funny to see yourself, on the bowl. So when my husband, gets excited about the game and then I come on, he's twice as excited. So that was a fun thing for all of us to see.
Now, in a release from Squarespace, the re-recorded 5 to 9 was called the, quote, siren call to the hustle economy and a belief in the possibility that every idea can have a life of its own. So as you mentioned, Dolly, the Squarespace commercial is also part of one of your own ideas, a fragrance. Why a fragrance now?
Well, I have been wanting to do that for years. People have always wanted to know what I wear. As far as my perfume, and it's been a combination of different things, bath oils and different perfumes that I like, that I would use a little of this, a little of that. And I finally got with a fragrance company, and so they came up putting together my whole idea. And the idea of me having my own side hustle was perfect for Squarespace, because we built a whole website to promote that, and then having the Super Bowl commercial, hopefully that's going to be a good lick for us for that, being on with something that big, with that big of an audience. But I had started my brand a few months back to really start using different things, whether it's hair, wigs, or clothes, or perfume, and makeup. So I always wanted to start with a fragrance because that's easy, simple, and pretty. And so my side hustle just happened to be the Dolly Scent, S-C-E-N-T, from above is kind of the slogan with my perfume. So I'm excited about it. I'm still hustling.
I mentioned again, teaming up with Apple for their walking experience. Obviously, this huge campaign with Squarespace for the fragrance. You mentioned you're always hustling. You're so busy. Do you have anything else going on you want to tell us about, or no?
Well, I have a whole lot of things, but let's just do them one at a time, because I just sometimes oversaturate the market. I always think I'm going to pull back and I'm not going to be on TV. I think I know people are sick of hearing me. Then all of a sudden I got some big idea and I think, well, I got to get it out there. And so I'm just really excited to be working with Squarespace and being able to have a new outlet to promote something that I'm doing. And so they're excited, I'm excited. Seems to be working for everybody. And I mean, you can't beat a deal like that, right?
Dolly, we'll never get sick of you. I mean, I think about over the past year, the number of times you've been in the headlines, one being, of course, the donation you made to Vanderbilt University for their COVID-19 research. What was it, I guess, early on, because that was back in April when they made that announcement. What was it so early on, I guess, as we kind of all went through this new normal and this new world that we're living in, that compelled you to make a donation to Vanderbilt?
Well, my heart always guides me and leads me. And early on, just when they very first started talking about that pandemic, I sensed that this was not going to be good. And I thought, well, I'm going to make a donation for research for that, for a vaccine or whatever. And they did some wonderful work through Vanderbilt. Actually, they had built a little bridge, for helping people get well before they actually found the vaccine. So I was just so thankful. And I just felt like maybe God had led me to help with that. I just thought I should do it, and I did. And if I've had I think I'm getting more credit than I deserve, but it's only because my name is out there and people know me. But I was just so happy to even just be a small part and have the seed, to plant a seed that would grow into something bigger. So, and eventually I'm going to get the vaccine myself. I'd get it now, but I'm not going to jump line. I don't want anybody to think I did it just to get it myself. I do want it, but I think we're going to need it because things are not looking good out there. But we're going to get We're going to get rid of it.
The one, the only Dolly Parton. Like I said, we'll never get sick of you. We love you. Thank you so much for the time.
Well, thank you.
And a big thank you again to Dolly Parton and all those pursuing their passion projects. All right, before we go, we mentioned it earlier in the show, something brand new besides Ad Meter Live to the Ad Meter experience this year, and that is replay ranking. So, okay, you've heard us talk about it now. You've watched all the ads from the big game, and you want your voice heard. You can still do so. You want to head on over to admeter.usatoday.com. Sign up to be a panelist for replay rankings, and we're awarding a number of superlatives, like your high school yearbook, whether it's most comical, most action-packed, most inspirational. Admeter.usatoday.com to sign up for replay rankings. That's going on until Thursday. A few thank yous real quick before we wrap up. Bob Lindeman, Lindley Taylor, thank you so much for making this thing look good. Our senior producers, Christine Canetta and Stacy Mello. A big thank you to Robert Padovic, Russ Torres, and Kate Gutman. And Marissa Kasner, Rick Suter, the entire Ad Meter team that makes this institution sing every single year. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you're wondering, yes, I'm in New York in a very socially distanced studio. The only other guy here is hitting the switches, Josmar Tavares. Josmar, thank you, thank you, thank you. That's a wrap on year number 1 of Ad Meter Live, sponsored by Verizon. Thanks for tuning in.